Hi guys, I'm Rex King. Welcome back to another episode where I review films currently in theaters. And today I am talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. So TMNT Mutant Mayhem is the latest animated movie about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael. And this time they are facing off against a villain called Superfly, who is a mutated fly who wants to bring about the extinction of mankind, building a super weapon to mutate all the animals on the face of the earth. The turtles don't want this to happen, and they also kind of want to try to save the world, to convince the world to accept them and hopefully live normal lives. So, there are three franchises in my life that shaped me to be the viewer I am today. Those three franchises are the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, the X-Men movies, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. These three franchises irreparably changed how I watched things, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was one of the really first franchises I really got into via the 2003 cartoon that I grew up watching. Now, this movie's more indicative of the 1990s cartoon, and thus is more comedic than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I'm really used to, and the ones I usually prefer. Now, that being said, this film does have some potential. There's a lot of cool stuff about trying to gain acceptance through good deeds, while also trying to uh, talk about, like, though you might have had a bad experience interacting with certain people, not all of that group is bad. Uh, it really has some cool stuff that it's trying to do. Too bad it focuses a lot on its comedy, and its comedy's hit or miss for me. And now, mind you, this movie is geared towards a younger audience, so maybe they'll like it a lot more. But for me, the pop culture references didn't really hit as hard as they could have, and I just didn't find the movie all that funny. Now, this movie's also an hour and a half long, which causes another problem I have with the film to arise, and that is the characters aren't developed as well as they could have been. There are certain moments in the film where you're like, why are the characters acting like this or thinking like this? And it's in your face, like, with what the characters are thinking, and they just tell you what they're thinking instead of letting you really dissect the character in your mind a little bit. And I really feel like that's a waste of potential. Not only that, but as an hour and a half movie, they didn't have as enough time to really flesh out all the characters, and there's a lot in this movie as they probably should have. Now, that being said, this is the first movie into what is supposed to be a new franchise for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and in that regard, we have a decent baseline for them to build off, but I really wish we got more in this particular film to work with. Now, as far as performances are concerned, all the voice actors are doing a fantastic job. This is a star-studded cast that's meant to get people's attention when they look it up online. Uh, that being said, they don't get the star-studded cast doesn't get as much screen time as our unknowns who are basically voicing the turtles, and I think there's only like two of the kids that are in this film that are have a lot of experience. The others are like kind of new to the game, and they're all doing a fantastic job. And I really feel like their voices are distinctive enough to really stand out as the turtles. Jackie Chan is wonderful as Splinter and is perfect casting. Um, and Ice Cube is great as Superfly. So we have a lot of good voice acting in this film, and that's one of the standouts. The other standout here has got to be the visuals. This film really feels like someone drawing a comic book come to life. It's not as like comic booky as like something like Spider Verse, but that's good. It allows itself to stand out on its own instead of just being a Spider Verse clone. And I really like the new age of animation we seem to be leaning towards in that regard. How everything is going to have a unique feel to it. And then The music's also really well done. The songs that they use in this movie are really good for the movie, and the way they use them is quite brilliant. I really enjoyed a lot of the ambiance in the film. It's just that the story wasn't as strong as it could be, and the characters were really weak as far as I'm concerned. I feel like if this film was just a little bit longer, we had time to flesh out the characters, this film probably would have been great. But as it stands, it's perfectly fine. Especially if you're a younger audience, I think you're going to find this film to be quite attractive and going to find a new love for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, especially if you haven't been exposed to them in the past. Now, someone who has been exposed to them in the past, this is definitely one of the weaker outings I've seen from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I, again, much prefer a more serious take, and I really enjoy a lot of the lore around the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, I grew up, again, with the 2003 cartoon, but honestly, the things that have stuck with me over the majority of my life is the comic books, and in my opinion, we really haven't gotten a show that takes what the comic books gave us and really made it come to life. It always feels a little hollow at times in comparison to the comics. So I guess my recommendation is, if you're a TMNT fan, before going into this movie, you need to ask yourself, are you a fan of the 1990s cartoon, or are you a fan of the more serious comic books and the lore in that regard? If you are, you're probably going to come out of this movie a little disappointed, but if you're a fan of the 90s cartoon, you're going to like this movie. If you're new to the TMNT franchise, do yourself a favor. Definitely see this movie, but afterwards read the comics and you'll see what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, I'm going to give Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem a 6 out of 10 because at the end of the day, it is still a fine film. It's just not a great film. Anyway, that's what I thought about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.